Okay, so I'm going to solve this equation here that has variables on two sides of the equation. Again, the sides are shown by, usually I have my students draw a line, write down the equal sign. So there's a left side over here that has 8y plus 13 and a right side that has 7y plus 5y minus 11. Okay, so the first thing before I start solving, I'm going to try to simplify my side. So this right side or left side over here has a 8y and a 13. Only one term has a y, the other one doesn't, so there's nothing to combine here. But on the right side, I have two y terms, so I can combine those two things. So I'm going to combine that 7y with the plus 5y. So that combined together is going to give me a 12y. And I'm going to bring down everything else I haven't done anything to yet. Right there. And the minus 11. Okay. So now both sides are as simplified as possible, meaning there's nothing else I can combine on each side to each other. But there are terms I can combine on opposite sides. Like I was saying earlier, I have an 8y term on the left and I have a 12y term on the right. So those terms can be combined, but we're going to use the same characteristics. Since they're on opposite sides, we have to use inverse operations. For example, since 12y is bigger, I'm going to keep my y terms over here, and I'm going to go ahead and subtract my 8y from the left so that I can get rid of the y here, because I want my y just to be on one side of the equation. So I'm going to subtract 8y over here. So it cancels that right there. So these cancel. And whatever I do to one side, I have to do to the other. So I'm going to subtract 8y from the 12y since they both have a y, or since they're both y terms. So here we end up with 12 minus 8, which is 4, y, and then bring down the rest of the equation that we have, the equal sign and the positive 13. Okay, I need a little more room right there. So now this should look familiar. This looks like a regular two-step equation because I have multiplication and I have subtraction, the two operations that create a two-step equation. So I'm going to start solving for my y. So to solve for my y, I am going to cancel out that constant, that number without the variable, that minus 11. So to cancel it, I will add 11 over here. So those will cancel. And whatever I do to one side, I do to the other. So I'm going to add 11 over here as well. And so that gives me 24. So I have 24 equals, bring down the 4y. So I still want to continue solving this equation. I have 4 being multiplied times y. So that means I'm going to divide by 4 to get my y by itself. Whatever I do to one side, I do to the other. And so 24 divided by 4 is 6, right? 6 equals y. So this is the value y. Y is equal to 6. Okay, so here's a second equation for another example. So I have 13y minus 4y plus 62 equals 2y plus 6. So once again, I'm going to separate this down the equal sign right there. So I have my two sides, and I am going to try to simplify. So simplify means I'm going to combine any terms that are like or common. And in this case, I have a 13y term and a 4y term on the left-hand side. So I'm going to go ahead and combine those two. Well, 13y minus 4y will give me a 9y. So I get 9y here. Bring down all the rest of the stuff I haven't done anything to. So plus 62. Bring down the equal sign. Bring down the 2y plus 6. Okay, so once again, I simplified the two sides. There's nothing else that I can simplify or combine on the left side. There's nothing else I can combine on the right side. So now I'm going to go ahead and start getting my y on one side than the other. Like last time, I compare my y terms. I have a 9y here and a 2y on the right side. The 9 is larger, so I'm going to leave the 9 where it is, and I'm going to cancel out the 2y. And to cancel out the 2y means I'm going to subtract 2y. So the subtract 2y will cancel that out. And whatever I do to one side, I do to the other. So I'm going to subtract 2y from the 9y because those are the like terms. Okay, so I don't subtract the 2 from the 62, but from the 9. And that gives me 7y plus 62 equals 6. So we have 6 on the right side. So once again, it looks like a two-step equation, because that's what usually happens. When you simplify your equations, it should simplify down to a two-step equation. Once you get to that step, you should be able to recognize, oh, I can do this. Okay, so now I'm going to actually start solving. I haven't started solving until now, meaning isolating my y. So my y, we have that plus 62 over there. So we want to cancel that 62 by subtracting 62. So those are cancel, and again, whatever I do to one side, I'm going to do to the other side. So I have 62 over here. So I have 6, take away 62. Now, again, some students get mixed up, so it's okay if you rewrite it on the side somewhere that you know you're going to subtract this way. You put your bigger number on top so you can do all your borrowing and stuff like that. So I end up with 56, and it should be a negative 56 since 62 is bigger. Okay, so this becomes negative 56 over here equals 7y. And then our last step from our two-step equation is to go ahead and divide by that 7. So those will cancel, divide by 7, and y equals negative, I believe, 8, right? 7 times 8 is 56. So there you go. All done.